Before there were Avengers, before there were mutants, before there were Infinity Stones, symbiotes, or even planets worth caring about, there were the Celestials. These aren't superheroes. They aren't villains in any traditional sense. They're something older and stranger than either of those categories. Towering cosmic beings that stand 2,000 feet tall, clad in armor that isn't really armor, operating on a time scale that makes human civilization look like a rounding error. They created the Eternals. They created the Deviants. Their blood soaking into the earth millions of years ago is the reason mutants exist at all. Every genetically enhanced, cosmically empowered, supernaturally gifted being in the Marvel Universe can trace some part of their existence back to a celestial decision made before recorded history. And they did all of this without ever explaining why, without ever asking permission, without ever once treating the civilizations they shaped as anything more than subjects of an ongoing experiment they started and will end whenever they feel like it. Today we're ranking 10 of the strongest Celestials in Marvel history, what they do, what makes them terrifying, and exactly how they fit into the cosmic hierarchy that most Marvel fans never get to see. And fair warning, by the time we reach number 1, you're going to understand why even Thanos, with all 6 Infinity Stones, confirmed that the Celestials were at the top of the power scale in a category by themselves. Let's start with the basics before we get into the ranking. Every Celestial has a role, a specific function they've carried out for millions of years as part of what Marvel calls the multiversal cycle, a process by which the Celestials visit developing worlds, genetically alter their dominant species in multiple directions, plant the seeds for Eternals and Deviants, and then return thousands of years later to judge whether the experiment succeeded. Pass the test, your world continues. Fail, and a very specific Celestial shows up to clean the slate. That process has shaped virtually everything in the Marvel Universe, and the Celestials who carry it out are the 10 beings we're about to meet. Number 10, Gamon the Gatherer. Every system needs someone to do the field work, and for the Celestials, that being is Gamonon. When a celestial host arrives at a new world, Gamonon's job is to physically collect specimens, samples of whatever life forms exist on that planet, and bring them to the Celestials, who will analyze and judge them. He is functionally a cosmic biologist running the universe's most consequential field research. Don't let the support role fool you. Gamonon is still a full Celestial, operating at a power level that puts him impossibly far above anything the Avengers could throw at him. When he came to Earth as part of the Fourth Host, he was one of the primary Celestials who faced Thor and Odin directly, and wasn't particularly troubled by it. He's also directly responsible for the creation of Eternals, Deviants, Skrulls, and Kree, because the specimens he collected became the raw material for every genetic experiment the Celestials ran on developing species. Without Gamonon, there is no collection process. Without a collection process, there is no experiment, and without the experiment, the Marvel Universe looks completely different at the species level. He's number 10 not because he's weak, but because his role is foundational rather than destructive, and this list gets significantly darker as it climbs. Number 9, Jamaiah the Analyzer. If Gamonon is the field work, Jamaiah is the data processing. He receives everything Gamonon collects and analyzes it, cataloging genetic potential, measuring evolutionary trajectories, determining which specimens are worth developing and which aren't. He is the keeper of the Celestials' infinite accumulated knowledge across every iteration of the cosmos, and he turned that knowledge into a document the Eternals call the Fractal Scriptures, essentially the Celestial Bible, encoding the laws and history of the cosmic hierarchy in a form that lesser beings could at least partially comprehend. Jamaiah was also one of the Celestials who led the original rebellion against the first firmament, the being that was the first universe, helping create the first multiverse. The universe we live in exists partly because Jamaiah and his kind decided to break free from a singular existence and create something infinitely more complex. He was there at the beginning of everything in a very literal sense, and he was one of the Celestials who banished Knol, the god of the symbiotes, into the void at the start of the 7th cosmos. An analyst who helped create the multiverse and imprisoned the god of all symbiotes is not someone you want to underestimate. He's number 9 because his power is expressed through knowledge and coordination rather than direct force, but the decisions he makes shape the entire experiment. Number 8. Xeron the Tester. Here's where the celestial process starts to reveal its darker implications. Xeron's specific function is genetic testing, evaluating the stability and viability of the genetic alterations the Celestials make to developing species. He is essentially quality control for sentient life, and quality control in this context means determining which genetic lines are worth preserving and which ones aren't. The stakes of failing his evaluation are not a bad grade, they are extinction. Xeron has been part of multiple celestial hosts, has fought some of Marvel's most powerful beings directly, and carries the weight of an incalculable number of civilizational decisions made over millions of years. When the Celestials altered the genetic code of Earth's early humans, creating the dormant potential for powers that would eventually produce everyone from the X-Men to the Inhumans, Xeron was part of the process that determined whether those alterations were stable enough to continue. He is number 8 because his role is one of the most consequential in the entire celestial hierarchy. Every enhanced human, every mutant, every powered being on Earth exists because Xeron determined that the genetic experiment was working as intended. Number 7. Ean the Searcher. Ean is one of the most active and well-documented Celestials in Marvel history, and his title gives you a clear picture of why. He searches, constantly and endlessly, across the cosmos, finding new life for Gamon to gather and for the broader celestial process to evaluate. He was one of the first Celestials to visit Earth, arriving with the 4th host and observing what was happening on the surface. He also demonstrated in very direct terms what happens when you annoy a Celestial. When the Deviants attacked him during that visit, Ean didn't negotiate. He absorbed the energy of their island of Lemuria and destroyed it in retaliation. An entire island civilization gone as a reflex action from a being who wasn't even there to cause problems, just to look around. MCU fans will recognize Ean as the Celestial who wielded the Power Stone in Guardians of the Galaxy, using it to destroy an entire planet the way you might swat a fly. In the comics, his destructive potential is similarly described as essentially unlimited, and his role as the being who guided mutant leader En Sabah Nur, later Apocalypse, to harness alien technology gives him an outsized influence on the history of the X-Men that most fans never connect back to him. He's number 7 because he's one of the most directly dangerous Celestials Earth has encountered, and because the scope of his searching function means he's responsible for more first contact scenarios than any other member of the host. Number 6. Hargan the Measurer. Hargan's role sounds administrative. He measures things, planets, civilizations, the quantitative results of the celestial experiment on any given world. In the cosmic bureaucracy of the Celestial, someone has to put numbers to the outcomes, and Hargan is that being. But Hargan has a history that sets him apart from the others in a significant way. He was the Celestial who betrayed the dreaming Celestial during the events that led to that renegade's imprisonment. That choice, to side with Arishem against a fellow Celestial who may have had legitimate grievances, sent ripple effects through Celestial history and Earth's history that lasted 20,000 years. The political decision of a cosmic administrator changed the entire trajectory of the planet we live on. Hargan also shaped Earth itself, not just measured it. His involvement in the physical formation of the planet during the celestial hosts goes beyond data collection into actual terraforming, adjusting the conditions on the ground to support the experiment he was helping run. A measurer who helped imprison the most powerful celestial ever born and shaped a planet with his hands is number 6 on this list, and it's a testament to how stacked this ranking gets that he lands there. Number 5. Scathan the Approver. Most Celestials have roles defined by action: gathering, testing, analyzing, destroying. Scathan's role is defined by judgment, and in the cosmic hierarchy, judgment is authority. Scathan is tasked with approving or disapproving situations. That sounds simple. In practice, it means that Scathan's word is final on whether a given event, action, or outcome is sanctioned within the celestial framework. He is a cosmic arbiter with the power of a god and the authority of a supreme court, and when Scathan weighs in on something, that decision carries weight across realities. His most significant appearance came when the original Guardians of the Galaxy, the team from the far future timeline of Earth 691, encountered him during a battle with the cosmic threat Progenitor. protege was a being who could copy any power he witnessed and had grown so strong that he was beginning to challenge the living tribunal itself. Scathan appeared, assessed the situation, and rendered judgment. His involvement wasn't incidental, it was decisive. When the Approver shows up, the situation has reached a level of cosmic significance that most threats never approach. The fact that he exists as the being whose specific function is to say yes or no to outcomes at a multiversal scale puts him above most of his fellow Celestials in terms of pure cosmic authority. Number 4, the Progenitor. The Progenitor is one of the most important Celestials in the history of the Marvel Universe, and one of the least discussed, which is a significant oversight given what he's responsible for. Millions of years ago, an Alpha Celestial known as the Progenitor visited Earth. He was infected by a cosmic parasite called the Horde upon arrival and died almost immediately after landing. His body fell to Earth, his blood soaked into the planet, and over the millions of years that followed, that alien cosmic blood, the biological material of a god-tier Celestial, mixed with the developing life on Earth and fundamentally altered the genetic potential of every living thing on the planet. The Progenitor's death is the reason humans can develop superpowers. His blood is the reason the mutant X gene exists, why Inhumans respond to Terrigen Mist, why Earth produces more enhanced individuals than almost any other world in the galaxy. He didn't plan it, he didn't intend to alter Earth's evolutionary path, he just died here, and the spillage from a dying god was enough to permanently change the planet's destiny. He's known as the father of the Avengers by those aware of his role. Every powered being on Earth, every hero and villain who ever drew their abilities from something beyond normal human biology carries a trace of what the Progenitor left behind. The most consequential thing a Celestial ever did on Earth was an accident. That's number 4. Number 3, Tiamut the Dreaming Celestial. Tiamut is the most complex and deeply fascinating individual Celestial in Marvel history, and his story is worth taking time on because it goes places you don't expect. Originally called Tiamut the Communicator, he was a member of the second celestial host that visited Earth, and during that visit he concluded that Arishem the Judge had violated their own protocols by making decisions about the deviant population that broke the established rules of the celestial experiment. He didn't just disagree, he attacked Arishem directly. He won that fight. By his own account, he defeated Arishem, but then 4 other Celestials who had been working with Arishem turned on him together, and he was imprisoned. Not killed, imprisoned, sealed beneath the Diablo Mountains in California, put into a sleep that lasted roughly 20,000 years, his armor turning black as he slumbered, which tells you something important. You don't kill Tiamut. Even the other Celestials, who outnumbered him and caught him off guard, couldn't simply destroy him. They could only contain him, and even that containment was always temporary. When he eventually awakened in modern times, the event was so significant that Galactus was afraid of what it might mean. The Watcher could see nothing when Tiamut opened his eyes. His awakening literally blinded cosmic-level precognition. He stood in San Francisco, choosing not to destroy the planet while he evaluated whether it was worth preserving, and eventually appealed to the Fulcrum, the supreme entity above even the Celestials, on Earth's behalf. He is, according to Marvel's own documentation, the greatest of the Celestials, the most powerful individual member of their race to have walked the Earth. His imprisonment wasn't punishment for weakness, it was fear of what he might do if left unsupervised. Number 2, Exitar the Executioner. If Tiamut is the most powerful individual Celestial, Exitar is the most terrifying force the Celestials have ever deployed. And the distinction matters, because Exitar isn't really one being. It's a title, a role, a succession of Celestials who take up the mantle of Executioner when the previous one dies, ensuring the function is never permanently vacant. The function is this: when a world fails the Celestials' test, when a civilization that was given the gift of genetic enhancement proves itself unworthy of continuation, Exitar arrives and destroys it, not diminishes it, not punishes it, destroys the life on it completely as a final resolution to a failed experiment. Exitar is so powerful that the entire assembled force of the fourth host, all the Celestials working together, is described as nothing compared to him. He is the escalation beyond escalation. The Celestials who make the judgment are already incomprehensibly powerful. The being they call when the judgment is destruction operates on a level above them. Sue Storm, the Invisible Woman, once managed to kill an Exitar, but Marvel addressed this almost immediately by noting that the title simply transfers to the next Celestial in line. You cannot permanently remove the Executioner. You can only delay the inevitable. The only weapon ever confirmed to definitively kill an Exitar was Mjolnir, Thor's hammer, one of the most powerful objects in Marvel cosmology. That's the Bar, a weapon forged by the dwarves of Nidavellir that has cracked planets and shattered the Rainbow Bridge, is what it takes to permanently end an Exitar. Everything else is just buying time. He is number 2 because his function is the end state of everything the Celestials do. He is what happens when the experiment concludes badly, and he is always, somewhere out there, waiting. Number 1, Arishem the Judge. There was never really any question about who sits at the top of this list. Arishem the Judge is the Prime Celestial, the leader of the Celestial hosts, the being who forged the first sun and created the very conditions that allowed life to develop in the universe. Without Arishem, there is no light. Without light, there is no life. Without life, there is no Marvel universe. He is the one who designed the Eternals and the Deviants and sent them to worlds across the cosmos to manage the experiment. He is the one who makes the final call on whether a civilization continues. He carries within him the records of every world the Celestials have ever visited, every species, every outcome, every judgment rendered, and uses that accumulated history to determine the fate of new worlds. He also fought Knol, the god of symbiotes, at the dawn of the 7th cosmos and was directly responsible for banishing him to the void, an act that held for billions of years until Knol eventually broke free. The fact that Arishem's containment held that long gives you a sense of the permanence of his power. In terms of raw strength, Arishem is described as immeasurably more powerful than the combined force of every Skyfather in Marvel. Odin, Zeus, Vishnu, every god king of every pantheon rolled into one entity still falls short of what Arishem represents. When Odin assembled the life force of every Asgardian, wore the Destroyer armor, and wielded the Oversword against the fourth host, Arishem casually analyzed the Odin Sword and then melted it. Not struggled, casually melted it, as a demonstration that the threat wasn't even worth taking seriously. Arishem is the architect of life in the Marvel Universe. Every species that exists, every world that developed under celestial guidance, every being who ever drew power from the genetic potential the Celestials built into their DNA, all of it traces back to his decisions, his design, his judgment. He is not just the most powerful Celestial on this list, he is the reason the list exists at all. And that, at the end, is what makes the Celestials so uniquely unsettling as a concept. They aren't evil. Arishem isn't a villain. None of them are, in the conventional sense. They're custodians of a process so vast and so ancient that the entire history of human civilization doesn't even register as a significant data point in their records. They created us. They shaped us. They will judge us. And whether that judgment goes well or badly has nothing to do with what we want, what we've built, what we've sacrificed, or who we've become. It has to do with whether the experiment is producing the results they were looking for. That's cosmic horror at its purest, and that's the Celestials. If you want to keep going deeper into Marvel's cosmic mythology, stick around. I'll see you in the next one.